But yeah, I would encourage everybody, before we start the formal class itself, I'll just say for a minute or two why it is important to turn on your video. you know, Master, for example, when he used to pray for somebody, or Swamiji also, I remember so many times, he would ask for a photograph, especially with the eyes open. And he said it's very important to see the person who you're praying for, who you're addressing, the consciousness. Of course, and anybody who's ever done a class, you would know that the face of the participant is what directs the class. If somebody's clueless, then you slow down. If somebody's really going with a certain train of thought, then we go deeper in that. Then I have seen in my almost now 10 years of online classes, really, except when I was traveling through an airport or in a train. And even 3 days ago, I was in a train and I tried to keep my camera on as much as I could in the meeting. But as long as it's not distracting the teacher, your movement, I think it increases my accountability, that I have to keep my spine straight, I have to focus, I have to reciprocate, because really this is a two-way street. So I know that, in workplaces where the main goal is to exchange information and slides and action items, it's okay if people don't see you, because it's a logical process happening. But really, friends, when we are attending something like a satsang, I have personally felt I derive more by keeping the camera on. That said, it is up to you, and it is for you to experiment and see. Okay. And I'll tell you one final story. One time in the pandemic, I was doing a class and I had 6 students only, and nobody was turning on the camera. So I said, let's pray. Good morning. Nobody greeted anybody. And I said, really? And then I did this. And I said, well, for the next 2.5 hours, we'll be discussing yamas and niyamas and going through the Ashtanga yoga. And somebody said, sir, we can't see you. I said, I know. And just to really give you an idea of how it feels to be on the other side. Again, as I said, I'm not taking it personally, but I'm a flag bearer of keep the camera on and keep your spine straight. Yesterday, I was with the Hindi Sangha. There were about 40 people. And 3-4 times in the class, I could tell them, get away from the back of the chair, keep the spine straight, because habits come in and we can kind of just like, yeah, keep telling. Okay, so over to you, Harish. Good morning, everybody. And maybe after a few words from Harish, I could introduce the subject and we can all have satsang together.
Right. Well, I didn't prepare any speech, Aditya. I thought I'm just going to rest and, let you do all the talking. But anyways, okay, going a little back. All right. So friends, one of the things in Bangalore, a lot of feedback that we had, in discussion with everyone, that we need to meditate more. We need to deep dive into our sadhana, and then, the idea was, Master said, read little, meditate more, think about God all the time, right? And then, some people said, let's talk less and meditate more, right? And think about God all the time, will automatically happen. So even during our satsangs and many of the classes, we are stressing more on, deepening our sadhana, right, for this year, along with, focusing on Master's teaching, Swamiji's books, right? We also have a wonderful, new publication team who have found, will order, tons and tons of books for you guys, to purchase. Yeah. So I'm making a sales pitch right now. Okay. So, and it's wonderful that Aditya ji, Dhyana ji, and then Amit, and Nayaswami Shankara ji will be doing this once a month with us. But we also encourage for you to guys, to come and meditate in a group. Yeah. So we have Alsur now, we have Whitefield, we have Kanakpura still with us, right? So one of the things we are going to do more and more is, meditating together, right? And today, Aditya ji, will take us into deepening specifically on, Hongsa and meditation exercises, or is it just Hongsa, Aditya ji?
Actually,
yeah.
Yeah, it's 3 topics, and I really feel it's a lot to cover, but we'll see how far we can go. There's certainly no hurry because this is a class on deepening things. And yeah, it's 3 topics: how to deepen your sadhana, general daily sadhana, how to go deep in energization, and then Hongsa.
Also have some time, with Aditya ji meditating together, right?
That's right.
And but it's all over to you, Aditya ji. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
here.
Thank you, Harish, and welcome once again, everybody. Let's take a moment to feel. We are about 35 of us, actually more. I see many of you in the temple. So we are about 45 of us practicing our sadhana together, going deep in master's teachings. So let's take a moment to feel we are all sitting together in one temple, inviting the masters to join us, to bless us. And let's offer this prayer together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, beloved gurus, Jesus Christ, Babaji, Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, our beloved Guru, Paramhans Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, dearest Swami Ji, we humbly bow before you all, invoking your presence, your blessings, your inner guidance, and your uplifting grace in this satsang. Help us dive deep in the teachings you have given us. Help us practice them every day, ever more deeply, that we may commune with God through them. And as we derive that experience, bless us to serve as instruments to share your will, your consciousness, your presence and blessings with all our brothers and sisters. We are your disciples, your children. Come to us now. Om. Welcome once again, everybody. And what we are going to do now, as we spend about 1.5 hours or about 1 hour more together, is, as I mentioned, we'll go through the very simple but very important subject of how do we deepen our sadhana. How do we make it interesting? How do we, if, and it does happen pretty much to everybody. You read the life of any saint of any time, they go through spells. There is the time like when you're racing towards God, you're having wonderful experiences, your intuition is running high. And then there are times that, like I'm thinking of Saint Francis of Assisi, who Yogananda ji said was the greatest saint in Christianity, Master's favorite saint. And he went through such a dry spell that in his biography, the person who knew him, I forget his name, his biographer, the first biographer, but he wrote, it was so sad to see the same man of God now confused, self-doubting, bereft of, feeling God's presence. Call it the dark night of the soul, or call it whatever, call it karma, as we are, most of us, I hope, are kriyabans, that there is a whole lot of karma, all of it actually, all of our past lives are simply in our spine. And and we don't know it, fortunately, we don't know the past entirely. And when it bit by bit by bit, it starts surfacing, it can confuse nobody else but primarily us, that what's happening, I used to like this, I used to understand this, I used to enjoy something like this, and suddenly it's like you're running on a freeway and suddenly you're running through a foggy patch and it's hard to see. But then keep in mind, because that's why we want to read the life of the saints that we come across. I'm thinking of Swami Kriyananda ji one time, when for a year, one whole year, sleepiness was bothering him. And try as he much, and he was a man of enormous will and enthusiasm, and even he, for a whole year, he said sleep would just and when would it come? the moment he sat down to meditate. Now, is that coincidental? No. Keep this in mind, especially if you're a disciple and a Kriyaban. And here we are talking of deepening our sadhana. So it's good to know what are some key things. There is a reality in creation called Satan. Master said, I used to think it is a figment of imagination. I used to think it is a philosophical subject that people bring about. But then he says, now that I have found God, I add my own testimony to the saints who have gone before me. Satan is real. He exists. Call him he or she, Maya, Shaitan, Satan is one and the same duality. And he said, it's not just there, it is a conscious force whose job it is to keep us in delusion. So there is somebody who is planning things, and we better be conscious and active. And Swami said, he was so tired of this one, that one day he said, you want to sleep? You want to sleep? He spoke to this kind of feeling inside him. He says, I'm not going to let you sleep. And he got up, took a cold water bath, went for a walk in the gardens, did gardening, did the whole work all day in the office. Then night came. He said, I'm not going to let you sleep. And he worked through, typed through. Master had given him work. He edited things. Next day, again, he took a cold water shower, went for the morning sadhana. And this time, that force or that habit, that samskar, that karma simply left him. It let him be. With Yogananda ji, he felt it in his own way. He would tell himself, okay, I'm going to meditate deep tomorrow. And tomorrow would come and Master would say, I'm going to meditate deep tomorrow. And by the way, what he was trying to do was actually an 8-hour meditation, if I remember correctly. We sit to meditate and you enjoy something and then you say, oh, I wish I could do this little bit more, but today I have this meeting. And that's normal. That happens. Most of us, usually it's a weekend or a long weekend or a holiday, planned holiday, where you get a day off by yourself. So Master was like, okay, tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow. And then he told himself, my goodness, a year has gone by and I have not been able to do my really long sadhana that he wanted to do. And what did he do? He got in a room then and there. He told his family not to disturb him. And he did a 48-hour sadhana and came out of it. Now, of course, that is way too much for most of us. But keep in mind the principle that we are discussing, that even the great ones, I just named 3 saints over here, but you fill in the blank that, okay, I want to go deeper in Kriya Yoga. I want to go deeper in Om technique. I want to do Hong Sau like Master did 8 hours a day. I want to see why Hong Sau is the only technique, Master said, in all of yoga science for which there is no upper limit, because its returns are peace. The more you do it, the more peace you get. So Master says, Swami used to say, there's no danger of overdoing Hong Sau. So whatever it be, whether it's a doubt that has come, whether it's, I don't know, the guilt can come in, that, oh, I'm not a good disciple, I'm not worthy enough, I took a vow, I will do it, but I have not done it. So many things come. We forget the technique itself. Frankly, I was once with a student of this path, and they were clarifying a point on Hong Sau. And they said, so that's what it is. And they had been on the path 25 years. So you see, we learn something, but it's good to go back to the basics, because there is you might say, mathematics of a technique. There is the science of the technique. And then there is the art, there is the attitude, there is the bhav, there is, like Yogananda ji said, respect, and more importantly, he said reverence. And then he would say great reverence for the technique. Because what is the technique really? It is like a door. Out of our devotion, dedication, Master has said, okay, I see you really want this. Stand in front of this door. And if you open it, you are going to see Om. If you open this door, divine light is there. If you open this door, bliss is on the other side. So he has given us techniques to experience God in different ways. But respect for that door is also very important. We can't just say, well, yeah, energization exercises. Can I do them once a day instead of twice a day? Well, I know a friend who has so much energy, and he had a vision that he was with Master in a battlefield in a former incarnation. He used to do energization 9 times a day. And why not? Here we are talking of elevating our consciousness. So it's not the Shudra consciousness that I can't get out of bed. It may happen, but there are ways to overcome it. It's not a Vaishya consciousness. Okay, Master, I'm going to do it twice a day. And then 15 years later, we're like, well, I have been doing it, but where are the returns? Or it's not like, and then we quit. We quit even if we don't leave the path. We leave it's like Swami said, you start picking glasses in a gold mine, in a diamond field, that we settle down for something less, for no fault of the technique, but for our own choice. So let's keep that in mind that as we are going through this journey, what is it that we are facing and how can we find its antidote? So what I'd like to now do is we are about 42 or 50 actually of us. Why don't we take 2 minutes or 3 minutes and in our chat write down what are the one or two things that have helped us deepen our sadhana. So let's actually, before that, let me guide you in just a brief visualization. So let's sit upright. Let's think of ourselves whenever we came on the path. For me, that would be 2008. So you see how you came on the path. You went through classes, perhaps many of you over here have received Kriya. And then you had your daily practice at home, whether you're an online student or in person. And if you've gone through a dry spell, whether with the reading or techniques or chanting or satsang or your attunement with the masters, whatever it be, what is that? What are those one or two practices that brought you back on track to deepen your sadhana, to deepen your attunement? Let's just meditate for a minute or two and then we can start writing. So now let's take a minute to write in our responses and I'll start reading them. And because this is a recording, later maybe one of you can compile these points.
Aditya, can you remind us what we are writing?
Oh, yes. So if you went through a dry spell where your sadhana was not so interesting or lost its charm or depth, and you regained it, how did you regain it? Through chanting. I have just written seva. Master said service helps your meditation, meditation will help your service. So what did you do so that you came back to it?
Thank you.
And I see a lot of friends in the temple. Maybe one can type and the others can share what their experience is, because we all go through our unique journey and there are certain principles that bring us back. Okay, so I'm seeing some nice answers coming over here. I'm also writing a few things. Let's take 2 minutes more. I see a lot of good answers coming. Okay, one last minute. All right. So let's now see. Okay, and we'll go through these one by one. And then I'll read from, and I urge you to buy this book, and Harish can post the link. This is Secrets of Meditation and Inner Peace by Swami Kriyananda. But let's first go through things. Okay, so I wrote Seva over here. Now, it seems little contradictory. And keep this in mind, friends, that, each master, each guru emphasizes a certain teaching based on the need of his disciples. So many times we may actually find a spiritual teacher, not from our path, who is not emphasizing on seva, who may even call seva outward or rajasic, activating, stimulating. But that is not true. Swami Kriyanandaji himself, towards the end of his life, he said, very few people know that the greater part of my spiritual progress came from service, not through meditation, because that is what particularly Yogananda ji had told him to do. Swami also said that my service and going deep in service helped him go deep in sadhana. And like I was saying in the beginning, our karmic patterns could be different. So when we serve, we are first of all trying, let's say you've experienced peace this morning, and that's wonderful. How deep was that peace is usually tested by our harmony of work with others. And if it's not okay, if it's not strong enough, that's fine. It takes time for milk to be churned and for butter to come out. But then we go back into our sadhana with a stronger resolution. I have really done this over the years and still do this, that wait a minute, I thought I cannot get angry, or I thought that I am calm enough and kind enough. And what was that today? So you go back to your sadhana and you say, okay, master, thank you for the little gift you have given me. Now give me more. Let me go deeper in my practice. Because spiritual evolution is like a spiral moving upwards. You've passed a test, but then you'll again meet it on a higher and higher and higher octave. And how often do we meet it? Till we don't need it at all. So keep that in mind. Consistency, Santosh writes over here. That's beautiful. That I asked Naya Swami Sevaji, who Swami Kriyanandaji mentions in his will and testament, last will and testament. And he said that she and Jyotishji were like his right hand people in the beginning. And he gave her, out of his gratitude for all she did for the work, he gave his astrological bangle that was blessed by Yogananda ji. He said, after I leave my body, that should be given to Sevaji. And Sevaji very kindly accepted it, but then gave it to the shrine of the masters, the little museum we have where all the relics of the masters are kept in Ananda village. So that bangle sits there today. Anyway, I asked Sevaji one time, she had been on the path more than 50 years by then, and I asked her how. I said, I also want to be like that. I also want to this entire life I want to see myself leaving my body, being a firm devotee, disciple. And I asked, how do you do that? And so her first response was perseverance. She said, no matter what comes, we develop the quality of forbearance, we develop perseverance, titiksha, that I'm going to go through this, like that sleep that came to Swami, or restlessness that may come, or doubts that may come. Kriyanandaji said, all these techniques are okay, But he said, sometimes you simply have to cling to Divine Mother's feet. That deepens your sadhana, because Divine Mother, what is she doing? Through Satan, I mentioned in the beginning, Satan is not stronger than God. Satan was created by God to test your and my resolve for God realization. So when things get really, you might say, stormy, we simply hold on to the feet of Divine Mother and we say, Mother, I'm not going to let go. Like Swami said, Master, even if you have forgotten me, you have let go of me, I will never let go of you. So that consistency, that level of perseverance. Sensi writes, I'm going for a personal retreat to recharge myself. Absolutely. And I urge you also, friends, this year we just planned, we'll be announcing the dates soon. We are going to have what is called the Spiritual Renewal Week. It has been going on in Ananda village for 56 years now. And Swami said right in the beginning, he said 1 week of the year. Different saints do it different ways. Anand Moima used to call it Sanyam Saptah, and Swami called it Spiritual Renewal Week. The goal is this week, I'm not working in my profession and job. I'm going to go deep in the teachings. And in Spiritual Renewal Week, as you may know, we offer a revision of all the techniques, different satsangs are given, personal sadhana, group sadhana, hatha yoga, chanting, kirtan, choir. So each person can take a resolution from there that this is what I'm going to do. So keep that in mind, that, okay, have I taken a seclusion? Have I, uh, taken that time off? Okay, then we go ahead, never to give up. Yeah, discipline, consistency, as we were saying, reading Master and Swami's books. Now, I would really urge you to simply buy all the books of Swami Kriyanandaji and Master, because I have done it. I have done it 3 times over. When I came as a monk, I had a very small honorarium. And if we worked a certain number of hours in publications, we got a coupon to buy a free book. I worked those hours. I bought all the books and I kept one set in the monastery room. I kept one set in the clinic that Kriyanandaji had asked me to run, because a good part of my day was spent there. And then when I started doing night shifts in a hospital about 25 kilometers away, I kept one entire set of books that I had purchased over there. Why? Because you simply want to know. Even for a technique like Hong Sau, it has been mentioned in more than 10 different books by Master and Swami. Subtle variations, not on the technique, but how you apply it based on the subject of the book. How can somebody who is seeking health, freedom from pain, who is seeking creativity, how can you apply Hong Sau in your field? So, again, the master, sorry, when I bring my hand onto the screen, this thumbs up sign comes up on my iPad. I'm not raising my thumbs up. See, if I do this, yeah, and now it will not come. Anyway, so keep that in mind, that the books were written so that you and I can apply these teachings. And again, this is a very, a practice like, and Swami Kriyanandaji used to make sure that when he wrote a book, he would he would not even wait for the book to come out. He would start passing out the chapters and he would ask people for feedback. Once the book came out, he would ask you if you read the book. I tell you a story. He had written the book biography, and about 300 pages. And a few days, and then he sent by email to the monastery this book. And so we got it. And 3-4 days later, some of us were flying to Italy to be in Assisi, where we have a center. And Swamiji was there. So after while I was doing the packing, I was like, oh, I have to get that book printed, because I didn't have an iPad. And so I said, I'll get it printed. So I asked a few others who were traveling with me. I said, I'm going to get the book Xeroxed. Do you want it? And they said, oh, no, no, no. So I said, well, we might meet Swamiji and he's going to ask. And they said, we are fine. Anyway, I got my copy, and throughout the flight, I read the book. We reached there. Swami heard that some of us have come from Pune and he said, oh, I'd like to meet them. So we were very happy. Next day, we went to his house and we entered his living room, and he said, welcome. He's welcome. I'm so happy you all are here. And he said, I just finished writing the book, Paramhans Yogananda, a biography. And I'm getting wonderful testimonials from around the world how much people are enjoying it. And I've sent one copy to the monastery. What are your thoughts? How did you find it? And not only that, then he said, have you read it? No. Have you? What about you? And I was the last. He said, what about you? I said, I read it, Swamiji. And then he would engage you. How did you like it? What did you like in there? What do you think of this? Do you have any questions? So the point I'm trying to make is that it's remember, our sadhana can go deep when we are doing what the Guru has told us to do. And part of the teaching is, Master told Swami 3 clear instructions: write, edit, lecture. 2 of those are related to books. And the third is also related to books because Swami's lectures were about what he wrote usually. So keep that in mind and make a continuous habit of it, whether you want to hear it and such. Okay, satsang, of course, being in the company of others, group sadhana. I am very grateful that on our path, we really come down to the practical application of the teachings. Sister Gyana Mata wrote in her book, God Alone, something Jayaji quotes very often after a seclusion. You think of a seclusion, oh, 1 week, nobody around, no gadgets, no talk. I'm going to go deep in sadhana, I'll float. Well, by and large, people come out uplifted. That is the goal of seclusion. But how is the process itself? Sister Gyanamata writes it was a hand-to-hand combat. Hand-to-hand combat. Jayaji says that he has never had a seclusion where he's coasting along from the beginning. He said outward realities are taken care of. There is silence, you're by yourself, you're not disturbed, but then you start working on yourself. And there you find it is enjoyable, but you really have to kind of do that work to bring that churning has to happen. And then in the beginning, restlessness comes, unwillingness comes. But bit by bit, as we overcome them, we find that things get better for us. So again, being in that satsang with one another, inner satsang with the masters, again, deepens our sadhana. Let's go ahead. Getting up early, beautiful point. And I would say be flexible. Master used to say, even with good habits, change them every once in a while to keep them on their toes. Long sadhanas at night, long sadhanas early in the morning. And we have teachers, Dhyanaji often shares that for many years, anytime somebody would ask for her time around noon in the office, she would say, oh, I'm sorry, I have a meeting at that time. And what was the meeting? It was her noon meditation. I know another teacher who used to work in the corporate world in Pune for many years. And she said every hour there was a 3-minute window for Hong Saw, for a few kriyas, as Master said. So again, we will have to and think of, because many times we lose the joy of practicing the technique itself. But think of your technique as your best friend, as your beloved, as your spouse. That Master says, if you are with your beloved, you actually don't want to blink your eyes. You don't want to listen to what's happening on the other table. You are so engrossed on that reality. So you want to meditate. You have to convince your mind that this is what, like Swami used to say, joy is my first love. So be clear with that. That yes, he used to say, peace is my bottom line. I never give it up for anything. So how can we become so familiar with these realities that we can't wait for those few minutes every hour? Okay, let's keep moving ahead. Spiritual books, pilgrimage, absolutely. It's like a group sadhana seclusion we do. Chanting is half the battle. I'll take a minute or two over here, friends. Now, the harmonium really is not only for meditation group leaders and center leaders and a few people. It was Master's recommendation 100 years ago in America for everybody. And Swami said it was not easy to get a harmonium in those times. So why do we want the harmonium? And don't be worried by the number of keys. Literally, by moving one finger here and there, you can learn a chant of master. They are very easy, but it sweetens our sadhana. In the beginning, you may be running very well, but as the months and years and decades come into the picture, when you realize this, I want to do this for the rest of my life, you want to add. Swami said, take every possible help that you can, and harmonium is a help, but it's also, it's a very enjoyable thing, as you know. So it's good to listen to the chants. It's very good and even better to sing them, to play them. So chanting any of the chants of the masters, getting a harmonium and learning it, I would highly encourage that. Kirtans, practicing Hong Saw, keeping silence, asking master for guidance, Santosh writes over here, a very beautiful thing. There was a monk, who lived in the same building as Yogananda ji, and he was going through a very confused spell, doubts, and he wasn't feeling uplifted. And so he reached out to Swamiji, who was the head of the men's monastery, and Swami tried to help him, but not much could be done. So Swami sought an appointment of the monk with master, and it was good. But then a few months later, the monk again fell into a dry spell and a mood. And Swami again approached Master. He said, Sir, could you talk to him once again? And you know what Master said? Master looked away at a distance through the window. And very sadly, Master said, this time it has gone very far. Unfortunately, I cannot help him. And here's the important thing. Master said, because he has inwardly stopped asking for help. I'll repeat it. I cannot help him, Master said, because inwardly he has stopped asking for help. Now you would think, well, if I have stopped, why don't you still keep helping me, Master? But you see, from a soul to soul, the respect Master has for your free will. It's not only a free will of doing something, it is the free will of not doing something. If you don't want to do it, if you don't want to talk to him, if you can't realize that you're living in the same building as an avatar and you should reach out to him and ask for his help outwardly or inwardly, then Master said it has gone too far. And Swami said, then the monk left the path. So and another time a lady said, well, Master, so many people feel your presence. I don't. And Master simply said to her very respectfully, but clearly, he said, if you keep me out, how can I get in? If you shut me out, how can I come in? And in the Bhagavad Gita, Swami Kiranandaji explains, he said, you see, some people feel God's love a lot, others don't. And Swami says, why? He said, because God comes to each person on the bridge of love that we have created in the first place. So, and that's why Swami says, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita to the doubter, I am his doubts, that he loves you. Hence, he comes to you the way you approach him. So, why approach him as a doubt? Swami himself, unfortunately, lost many incarnations, Master said, through doubts. Swami said he overcame them in this life through love, not through the mind, by loving, by chanting, by devotion. So keep that in mind. Inwardly talking to Master. Swami said that, somebody asked him, how did you write 150 books in spite of being with Yogananda ji just 3.5 years in person? And Swami said, those were 3.5 years. Master took me very close to him. He gave me a lot of his personal time. But then he said, but now it's been 65 years since he left his body. And here's the important thing. Swami says, I have always kept up my conversation with him. Think about it. Not only asking Master for guidance once in a while, talking to him all the time. Don't we want to talk to Master? Don't we want to talk to Babaji? Don't we want to listen to Swamiji all the time? Well, all we have to do is start the conversation and keep it up. Swami says, talk to God about everything. You have faults, don't tell others. They may mock you, but keep them in front of God every day. Mother, I am your child. Naughty or good, I am your child. When our heart is open, when we feel God so close, Master says, to those who think me near, I am near. He will come. And when He comes, how can the sadhana not be sweet? How can we not, when we pray, when we talk to God, that's one thing. In meditation, we start getting His response and His blessing. So keep that in mind. Listening to audiobooks, setting up my own temple and asana I have written over here. Now, this is very important, Just day before yesterday, we had 16 students from the Hindi Sangha who had come to our Pune center, and then they were going out to the Pune retreat for their Kriya initiations. So I was very happy for this one young man. His parents had come from Madhya Pradesh along with him to see him off and bless him as he went into this retreat. And his father was telling me, he said, we have just built our house in Madhya Pradesh, in this place. I said, in Rajasthan, sorry. I said, okay, wonderful. And he said, my son has a bedroom, then he has an office room over there, and then he has a third room, which is his temple. After construction was over, nobody has been allowed and is allowed to enter that place. He goes there, he does his sadhana, he keeps it clean, he takes care of it. I was very proud of that step. For the parent to allow the child to do something like this, and of course for the child to have such a level of commitment. And I told them, I said, Swami Kriyananda ji in his house at Crystal Hermitage had a little closet, not a room exactly, but a meditation room that's all you need sometimes, where they said nobody had ever entered that place. Today, you and I can go and there's a glass wall with a little gap, so we can put our hand inside, keep our mala over there for blessing. But in all those decades, I'm not saying don't allow anybody, that is a personal choice or preference. But the important thing is, you have a kitchen, you have a bedroom, you have an office. All Ananda homes, it is suggested that you have, if not a room, at least a corner, because that's where those vibrations start developing. Awesome. I remember many years ago in Pune, my salary used to be meager, honorarium. So anyway, one friend had come to our ashram and we started conversing. And she said, "Oh," I said, "What do you do?" And she said, "Oh, I sell silk cloth, curtains, cushions." So the moment she said that, I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Oh, I've been meaning to buy a silk cushion and cloth." So I said, "I'll come to your store and buy a cushion." She said, "You're most welcome." What I didn't know was that hers was the most high-end shop in all of Pune. So when I went there, I looked around. I said, this is not looking cheap or affordable. So she started showing me things. This is this, this is this, this is so many thousands, tens of thousands per square feet and meter. I said, oh, wow, nice, nice, nice. Then I came to the point, because I had to fulfill my word. I had said I'll buy something. So I said, now, which is the most affordable cushion over here? And she took me to a cushion which, by the way, 15 years ago was for 2,000 rupees. So I bought it. That was really half my honorarium for the month. But it was golden in color. It was half of my monthly energy had gone into it. And I tell you, 6, 7 years I used that cushion. I would really jump out of bed every morning. Why? Because I had invested so much energy into it. I said, I have to go and sit on my golden cushion. I would keep it clean, dust free. I said, I'm so happy I have this cushion. I still think of that cushion very fondly. And because of my joyful expectancy, Swami said, he said, that's a good attitude to have. I really had many good sadhanas. It's like a magic carpet. The moment I would sit on it, I was like, this is the best cushion. It can take me everywhere. So take that sweet, innocent pride in your asana. Get a nice silk, get a nice wool. I carried my asana for many, many years till my younger sister who was going to college, and she was a Kriyaban, and she said, please give me your asan and your mala and this and that. You are in a center. I'm going off on my own. So I gave those things to her. Now I have another asan. But I remember how not attached, but how grateful I was for my asana. And Master says in it develops vibration. So do you have an asana? Do you have your cushion? Do you have your altar, your own harmonium? The incense. Swami has written about the incense in the book Religion in the New Age because it brings some scars from past lives. So find an incense that works for you, not during meditation because you don't want to inhale that, but for the mood of meditation, for the sattvic vibration and environment that it creates. Okay, let's keep moving. Seclusion. We've spoken about that. Price of greatness, Master said. Okay, Sri Vidya coming to satsangs, chanting Hong Saw. Okay, Swamiji's talks, listening to them, absolutely, very good. Closing the eyes during energization. Now that's a nice way. Master said, do that. Once you've memorized them, go deep in this. Try to really see what's happening. And we can talk about it more when we go into energization. Calling a Guru Bhai for support. I've written that over there. You're feeling low. Really, Swami said, ask your friends what you would ask of yourself. If you're there for others, give others the opportunity to be there for you. Ask them out. Can I come to your place? Can I come for a meal? Can we go out for a coffee? Can we go out for a walk? And keep 2, 3 friends, in your life, friends, really. And if you don't have, pray to Master for them. That who can, frankly, I'll put it very straightforwardly, who can set you straight. As the years go by, we can, and especially as you go higher and higher in terms of your aspiration, on the highest of the mountain peaks, there is usually a cloud sitting. There's a fog. There's chances of a storm coming out of nowhere. The air is thin. So the point is, you may have started very well, but if you're going deviating a little bit, whether you're not coming to satsangs, whether you're not meditating long, so on and so forth, somebody can tell you, give somebody that freedom, that just come, like Sri Yukteswarji told Master at the very first meeting. And interestingly, Sri Yukteswarji was the Guru, but even then he said these words. He said, if you ever see me, coming down from this goal that you and I have set of God realization, place my head on your lap and bring me back. What a beautiful thing. What a beautiful friendship over there. So keep that in mind, that I'm going to call somebody, I need help, and I want to get things clear. Sri Yukteswarji also said, when two devotees come together to converse, of course, of spiritual matters, and keep your conversation high that way, their consciousness is changed forever. So find such Guru Bhais and have nice conversations with them. Okay, we're coming to the end. Oh my God, this is some list over here. Okay, let's see now how we can go through this. Sometimes, because of stress, you want to go back to sadhana. Absolutely. Like Kunti, when Sri Krishna asked her, ask me for a boon. She said, may I never be without some suffering in my life. And my goodness, Sri Krishna was surprised. He said, why do you say that? She said, Lord, because when I suffer, I always think of you. So don't ask for suffering, but yes, when suffering comes, what happens is, as you know well, maybe, when suffering comes, sometimes we can blame God. We can forget him. We can get upset with him. Like a human, if a person upsets us, we can get upset with them. We can unfortunately do that with gurus and God. And that's a dangerous situation to be in. Not because God will take it on his ego, he doesn't have one. God doesn't get upset. But if we get emotional, that is the beginning many times of a downturn in our sadhana. So keep away from that attitude. And but Master said, if you're friendly and childlike, you can argue with God, you can shout at him also, like a little child will sometimes, talk back to the parents. You can do that. Okay, let's keep moving. Visiting Jiva Samadhis of saints. Yes, you can go on pilgrimage and you can also go to the saints. Now, keep this in mind, friends. There's a beautiful chapter in the book, Religion in the New Age. Inspiration versus instruction. Of late, because of the overabundance of ancient Indian spiritual literature, which is wonderful, Master also writes about it in his autobiography and other. I mean, he's translated the Bhagavad Gita, explained the book, Revelations of Christ, Patanjali's teachings, and so many core teachings. But sometimes the mind's curiosity is to keep reading things outside of the path, or sometimes meeting saints or saintly people or teachers out there. And Kriyanandaji used to warn of that. He said, you may go to the places and saints for inspiration. After you've read, and by the way, Swami said for the first 14 years of his life, he spent reading every single thing Master had written, and he prepared himself by reading everything, 14 years. And he was also reading other things, but he was mature enough to separate the two. Don't mix the instruction and techniques of other people with our path, because Master has given us techniques and sadhana practices for you and me particularly. So again, if you go to a saint, also go more for the inspiration, not so much for instruction. Revising our techniques, energization, presence of Master in daily life, seeing Master's picture, absolutely. Think of Babaji. The other day I was coming by train and, I was feeling just a little restless or what to do. And I thought, come on, Aditya, you can simply think of Babaji. I said, because anytime we think of Babaji, an instant blessing is given to us. So I said, here is Babaji sitting, and all the masters for that matter, ready to give an instant blessing. And I said, and I'm asking myself, what should I do with my time? So thinking of Master and Gurus more and more. Japa, repeating the name of the Lord. Now, let's talk about that for a moment. That, by the way, as you will know, is a technique in itself for many, many paths. That's all you do. And it starts maybe outwardly or in a written format or a mental murmur or then a mental repetition, as is suggested, especially on our path, because that is the deeper way to practice it. And then you go behind the mantra into the feeling, you go behind the japa. So again, don't underestimate simple things like that. And japa is mentioned in the 7th chapter of the Lessons in Meditation book by Jyotish ji. So see, I have told myself sometimes, okay, I'm going to practice japa for 1 hour, or sometimes you chant one simple chant for 1 hour. The Master said that's also a practice. Swami used to do that sometimes for 4 to 6 hours. And you see, when you start doing that you start loudly and then softly and then inwardly, and then you don't feel like saying anything because you start feeling that chant. You start feeling what that mantra is all about. You go behind the words, as Master said. And then when the mind gets diverted, once again, you bring in the voice. Once again, maybe you start writing that mantra or do that japa. So it's a beautiful practice, which, like all other techniques like Hong So and Kriya, takes us high. And then when you're drifting out of it, again, you apply it again, it will take you high. So think of japa as a practice in itself, which on some days or in certain parts of your meditation, for example, in Christmas meditation, absolutely, you should practice japa. You should pray for other people. I'll give you another example, friends, which is so simple, but Kriyanandaji compared it to Kriya practice itself. And that is the simple practice of Anulom Vilom, breathing from the alternate nostrils. In his book, Biography, in the chapter on Kriya Yoga, Swami said, Master wrote that many saints practiced or taught Kriya and taught it or something similar to Kriya to their disciples. And then Swami says one such practice is breathing from your alternate nostrils, and that we do it sometimes just for preparation of meditation, which is okay. But you can go deep with that. Even count breathing, you can go very deep with that. Box breathing or square breathing, inhale, hold, exhale, hold. We can go very deep with that. In the Raj Yoga book, Swami says, like a scientist, let's say you're sitting down for sadhana today, and then you say, okay, yes, I will go into Hong Sau and Kriya, but first let me become friends with my breath, because breath is at the heart of Hong Sau and Kriya, both. So where is the breath? Is it in the bodily movements of chest and abdomen? Is it at the nostrils? And then Swami goes in the details. In which nostril is it more? Within the nostril, is it more on the outer side of the outer wall of the nose or the septum? Front or behind? Lower or higher and higher up? Once you find it higher, then of course we practice Hong Sau, we focus on the pause. And Swami says, then when you enjoy the pause, you can mentally chant Om over there. And even with Hong Sau in the Raj Yoga book, Swami says sometimes you can chant Om over there to deepen your awareness and experience of the pause. So there is so much. And Swami says all these positions of where you feel the breath say something about your present state of consciousness. So there is so much going on just with the breath. And we can engage ourselves. You know, Swami Vivekananda ji, when he went to the West the first time, and maybe after this we'll take a little pause and break. It's been a monologue of a long proportion. And somebody asked him, what do people in India do? And this is, of course, before even books were available about countries, you know. And he said, well, people do what they do in every country. There are farmers, kings, and businessmen and people. And he said, but let me tell you, there is a category of people in my country whose only job in life is to measure the amount of air entering their nose and leaving it. And he said, what? That's the only job in life? He said, yeah. And he says, these are the yogis. So the point is that, okay, Master said, we don't have to go to a Himalayan cave or some desert in this life and do that thing alone. But once in a while, why not spend time with our breath? And as we become friends with it, just like once you know somebody inside out, then you just know them. There's no need to talk. You understand each other. And for a yogi, it is paramount to spend that time with his or her own breath. Okay, I'll quickly finish this list. There are 5 other things over here. Speaking to Master every day. Practicing yamas and niyamas, very important. I'll cover that in how it deepens our sadhana, because those are also related to the first and second chakras. And if we want the energy to uplift, that is practice. Then somebody writes, chanting God's name. Okay. Accepting things with a calm attitude. Yes. Okay. Om chanting with Master's voice. Okay. Okay, friends, I'm going to close the chat now. Did we start at what, 11, 10 o'clock?
10:30.
10:30. Okay. So we are going till 12.
You can,
So,
go a little bit more.
So Harish, what do you suggest? I suggest today we focus just on how to deepen our sadhana and give the remaining 15-20 minutes for that. And then we can go into energization and Hong Sau one by one in subsequent classes.
Yeah, I think that works.
Okay, friends. Now, again, I'll encourage you to please turn on your videos. We are now towards the end of our class and would be really nice to see you. And if you have questions now, let me let's take one or two questions, and then I'll go into what Kriyanandaji writes in this book. There are some additional points how to deepen our sadhana. So anybody, please unmute, and you can share something or ask a question. Well, you know what they say, no questions usually means two things. I have understood everything you said, or you look at your neighbor and you say, what did this guy just say? No. So I hope
Aditya ji, good morning. This is Santosh Pandey.
Okay, Santosh, I can't see you, but you must be somewhere. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be eternally thankful to Haridas ji, Roma ji, Harish ji, and everybody for putting me on this path and holding my hand. I was in Bangalore for a couple of years. Now I have moved back to my native place, and very, very consistent and perseverance is there on my Kriya and Sadhana. I have a question.
Yes.
Sometimes what I feel that during the Hong Cho or the Kriya, the energy which flows on my spine is not straight. It's in let's say, like a snake moves, or sometimes it did not terminate to my, let's say, third eye. It
Yes.
terminates to the left or right of the forehead.
Yes.
So, and I asked the master, what is this, or is this right, or so. I have this question lingering in my mind from a couple of weeks or months almost now.
Okay. Thank you. That's a very beautiful and practical question, Santoshji. And I would encourage you to reread the last two chapters from the book Art and Science of Raj Yoga, where Swami goes in much more detail with this. But what really is happening is we have three main nerve channels in our spine: the Ida on the left, Pingala on the right, and the Sushumna in the middle. But Ida and Pingala are not exclusively left or right because they are woven like a spiral. So the energy does come as a spiral, and it can actually make the body also move, as that energy especially rises in the spine. Now, Yogananda ji said in the beginning, it's okay if that happens, but then you really don't want to keep moving, because remember, deep meditation is not possible as long as the body is moving, or as Patanjali says, even a muscle is moving. So what's the solution? Well, we have to move the energy from Ida and Pingala, where it goes in a cyclical, conical manner, into the Sushumna, where it goes deeper in and straight up. And for that, you need to, especially when the energy goes down the base, become aware of it and invite it to enter the deep spine. Swami writes about that in the chapter. Actually, interestingly, that is also why the Kumbh Melas are created at the confluence of rivers, because it's the Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. It's a reminder that this is where you need to take a dip in the river, the inner river, where sins are washed away, where joy is derived, and the journey starts moving upward. Now, how do we do it? Master says, if the body is moving, gently restrain it, because now you know the anatomy, inner anatomy. You can tell the energy mentally, just like in Om technique. Sometimes we can mentally bring the sound from one ear to the other. Similarly, in this case, we can mentally direct the energy that, okay, with every breath, the energy is going up and down. When it goes down, I'll invite it. And then comes the question of how to invite it. What are the attitudes? Because honestly, it's not easy for the energy to enter the Sushumna. But let me read this first secret from this book, where Swamiji is a little bit addressing that. Day 1, Swami writes, the secret of meditation is relinquishing outward attachments and affirming divine freedom within. So getting rid of attachments and affirming divine freedom. Now, how is this related to the Kundalini? Well, as long as we are attached to things, to our body, that's why Master used to say before meditation, dump the body. We do energization, we tense and relax so that we get free the life force is freed up from the sense telephones and is now coming more and more to the spine. In Master's explanation of the Mahabharata, also, Master says that the energy that is rising in the spine, the Kundalini, is symbolized by Draupadi. And the 5 chakras, the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, are symbolized by the 5 Pandavas. The 6th chakra, of course, the spiritual eye, is symbolized by Krishna, Kutastak Chaitanya, or Christ consciousness, Krishna consciousness. Now, what's the important thing? The Pandavas were born of 3 of them, the older ones, were born of Kunti and Pandu. And Kriyanandaji explains that these 2 qualities of the parents are important for each disciple, each Kriya Yogi to have. Each spiritual aspirant must have those qualities. Pandu means white, which is signifying pure discrimination, decision making, which helps you spiritually. Once we can start doing that, then our chances of spiritual growth are high. Secondly, Kunti. What does Kunti signify? Dispassion. What is dispassion? We are in the world, we have responsibilities, but we must not be attached to them. At least mentally, Master used to say, the moment Divine Mother calls me, I will leave everything and walk away from it all. That is dispassion. If we have dispassion and discrimination, then the gateway for Kundalini to come up is there. And if we are attached, how can deep meditation happen? Swami says attachment and deep meditation is like sitting in a hot air balloon, but not releasing the rope, which is holding it on the ground. So each person has to see what is their attachment. And Swami says, even if you don't let go of the thing, certainly let go of the attachment. For example, if somebody is attached to life, well, a simple reasoning that one day, sooner or later, whether I like it or not, I will have to leave the body. That develops so you take care of the body, but you're not attached. We will have to leave behind friends and family members. So that simple understanding develops dispassion and non-attachment, and the energy starts rising. So deep meditation, this is the very first secret. Swami says, relinquish outward attachments and affirm divine freedom within. Don't we want to meet Krishna? Remember, Kunti wanted to always meet Krishna. Actually, one time Krishna asked Kunti, why don't you practice some meditation techniques? And her response was, how can I do that, Lord? I have tried it. But whenever I try to practice a technique, I cannot take my mind away from you. And Swami used to repeat that story quite often, and Krishna only lovingly smiled with approval. That when we can think of God all the time, as Harish was saying, when we can be in that consciousness that this is what I am, this is what I want, then you see that naturally the energy starts rising up. And finally, the first 2 chakras, Nakul and Sahadev, their mother was Madri, who interestingly, in this incarnation, was Yogananda's second most advanced disciple, Durga Mata. That, the 2 brothers, Nakul and Sahadev, they are the yamas and niyamas, the steadfastness on the path, the ability to move with reality as it moves. So take Master's teachings on these realities, make them practical, and you will see that by and large, our sadhana, there are many factors that contribute to a deep sadhana, but by and large, by applying these attitudes of pure discrimination, Pandu, dispassion, yamas and niyamas, aspiration for God, then of course one could speak of all the chakras, but these 4-5 qualities set the foundation that, okay, if I'm sitting on my asana today, right now for meditation, it's a battlefield. What should my attitude be so I meet with success? Isn't that beautiful and so practical how Master has explained it? Okay, we'll take another question then.
Yeah, hello, Naya Swami Aditya ji. Thank you so much for the session today. Very thankful to you and other organizing members. My question to you is that how was your journey? How did it begin? And were you in the corporate field? And what motivated you so that we could basically pull out the nuggets and pull some wisdom from your journey and probably apply to us?
Looks like you want to stay here for another hour.
Exactly. It's a very dangerous question to ask Nayaswami Aditya ji. Okay.
Yeah, but you know what I'll do is I'll share another time. Especially these things are best shared in person. It's more enjoyable when I come down sometime. Yeah, actually, we are coming, Dhyanaji and myself, we are coming in March. But in short, it's the universal journey for everybody, friends. You know, you look around. For me, my background was in medicine. So I saw not only the good side of health and healing, which is very nice and it's growing day by day, but you also see the limitation, and especially you see death. So when I saw death, I would have questions, what happened over here? And nobody has answers. Well, Yogananda had answers. So I read his book. I was fortunate to meet Swami Kriyanandaji soon afterwards. So I was introduced to Ananda. I met people in Ananda. And as they say, there was no looking back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, another question?
I have a question.
Yes, Rituji.
Yes. So, sir, how
Now,
do we
Rituji,
distinguish?
tell me.
How do we distinguish?
No, wait a minute. Why don't you turn on your camera? So when we meet, I can at least say, oh, yes, Ritu, I remember you asked me a question. Why?
Sure.
In Bangalore, people are not turning on cameras so much, I realize. Yes, now I see. How beautiful.
Yes.
Nice. Tell me.
So I want to know, how do you distinguish between the heady feeling that one has after meditation, or the sound that you hear, forever, 24/7 in your head? Is it like a medical condition, or is it the after effects, or the good effects of deep sadhana? Because I get this heady feeling, like I can sleep all day.
Uh-huh.
My eyes are like droopy a little bit, and I do hear a couple of sounds in my ears. So I don't know whether that's tinnitus or what is it. Like, how do I know whether I'm doing the right thing or the wrong thing, or do I need to go to a doctor?
That's a very good question and a very practical one, because hearing sounds, which is tinnitus, is actually a situation that people, about I believe 10 to 20% people face it in their life at some or the other point. Now, as you mentioned, yourself, Ritu, that you heard something and just a little discrimination can make us feel that is it an external sound or an internal sound? So that is the first question to ask. And Swami Kriyanandaji, has written at different times, I believe, in the book, How to Awaken to Super Consciousness. But anyway, this is what he says, that you try to listen to that sound. And if it's external, then the problem is solved. Tinnitus can be internal also. It can come from inside in the middle ear. But over there also, is it a physical kind of a sound or what we call an astral sound? What are the astral sounds? We can hear the sounds of the chakras, a bumblebee, or flute, flowing water, an inner motor, the veena, sitar, harp, the gong bells, church bells, wind in the trees, and the amalgamation of all these sounds as om, or crashing of waves. Now, the interesting thing is that most of these inner sounds are very clear. You hear a veena, you hear a veena. But in the beginning, it may feel like even that is external, till you say, wait a minute, that's not coming from outside. You can ask somebody and they say, no, I'm not hearing it. So you realize that, oh, this is an inner sound. So we learn how to differentiate these sounds. What's inner, and what is inner, but due to some ringing of the ears, as tinnitus often comes, or the sound of blood flow, breath, blood flowing in the veins. Those are physical sounds which are also heard inside. And finally, the higher the sound, especially Om. How do you recognize Om? Kriyanandaji, because Om can also come in slightly different expressions. Kriyanandaji said it's an intuitive understanding. This must be Om. Then you don't get tired by it. Third, you are always uplifted in your joy level, calmness and consciousness by these inner sounds. That does not happen with the tinnitus and external sounds. So these are some ways to differentiate. The other thing is, sometimes we can hear what is called a borderline sound. It's the electrical kind of static-like sound. And Master says that is the sound of the astral body. Now, it's not a very pleasant sound, but it's called borderline because we are trying to move from the physical to the astral, from breath to prana, ultimately to spirit. But as we transition towards astral realities, it's good to know that, oh, this sound that I'm hearing is the sound of the astral body. And then, as I mentioned, you start experiencing other deeper sounds and you go into that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And you
Thank you.
also talk to some teacher and such because
I do. I talk to Sony ma'am, Anjali Soni ma'am.
Wonderful.
I do. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, friends. I see Naveen's hand is up, so we'll take a question from Naveen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good afternoon. I think this is a very nice session, and we have been getting a lot of information from you that will motivate us. My question is that when I do the meditation, I found a kind of a light between my forehead with the combination of yellow light and the dark light.
Yellow and
the darkness. There is a outer ring kind of thing, and in the center it is a dark.
okay.
And then I feel like the more the concentration, the more the bright light. And
Yes.
sometimes the concentration goes down and the bright light will disappear.
Yes.
And at the same time, I feel like a very heavy, like I am wearing a helmet. The kind of a feeling. If you wear the helmet and if you remove it, the kind of feeling you have at your head that like still helmet is there.
Yeah.
So is
Okay.
it something a illusionary thing or something is happening? I'm just trying to understand.
No, not at all, Naveenji. It is actually happening, and you are beginning to see what is the spiritual eye. It is a golden tunnel of light, inside of which there is a deep blue tunnel of light, and in the middle,
Right.
the five-pointed silvery white star. And these are not only colors; these are actual realms and realities. The astral, causal, and beyond creation. The white light takes us to God beyond vibration, beyond creation. Now, so it's good. And naturally, when we are calm and focused and absorbed, especially, then we see the light because these are subtle realities. If the mind is restless and not concentrated, it goes away. If the breath comes, if a thought comes, if we get excited, these things go away. Why might you be feeling the little heaviness and helmet-like feeling? My feeling is, maybe do a little bit more practices like energization exercises, Navi Kriya, Mahamudra, because as the energy rises more and more, and as we see the spiritual eye, seeing it is one thing, and then holding our awareness to continue seeing it, and then to offer ourselves. So what's really happening in all of this is the flow of energy is increasing. When the flow of energy increases, we have to prepare, Master said, our nerve channels to withstand that energy. In the chapter of Kriya Yoga, he said the body can have 50 watts of energy or 1,000,000,000 watts. So you see the spectrum is wide. So the point is, but it's good to feel that because then you strengthen it. You purify your nervous system through your thoughts, through your techniques, which I mentioned, through your diet. And then you see bit by bit that you see the light more, your heaviness. Or let me read something I read from a scientist. His name is well known to everybody, George Simon Ohm, OHM. And when he invented or discovered a particular law, people didn't take it too seriously, but 50 years later, they understood it. And you'll see how this relates to energization and Kriya practice. He writes, I'll read this one paragraph over here. Ohm's most famous contribution to electrical science was published in 1827. This paper, unrecognized at the time, might well be considered the cornerstone of electrical circuit calculations. It is so simple in appearance that it was received as a truism and not an original concept. A truism is, oh, yeah, I know that, I've heard this, common knowledge. Then, his formula, Ohm's law, is I is equal to E above R, which means the electrical current in a circuit will increase. I is the electrical current. It will increase as the electromotive force, E, gets larger, and it will decrease as the resistance gets larger. Resistance is R. This is almost an expression of a universal law. The more difficult a job is to do, the greater effort we have to exert in order to get it done. But the important point over here is, as we are trying to increase the energy flow, prana, life force, in our spine towards the spiritual eye, the more you increase that flow, that's how you increase the circuit. And the second thing to keep in mind is reduce the resistance. What is resistance? Resistance to practice something, disbelief in something. Resistance is also not purifying the nervous system through proper thoughts, emotions, devotion, seva, attitudes, attachment. So all these things contribute in the raising of the Kundalini energy and the purity of our astral body and the purity of our consciousness thereby. So as you practice more and more, you'll see that that sensation of heaviness starts going away. It becomes more pleasant. Okay, I'll hand it over now to Harish for some thoughts, and then maybe we'll close with some final thoughts from Swami's book on how to deepen our sadhana.
I think we're almost out of time, Aditya ji. But one thing what we really wanted to was at least meditate, about 10 to 15 minutes with you.
Okay.
Right? We can always come back to the book. I know you wanted to share with that. But is it okay with you that, we meditate together?
Let's do that, and we can actually carry on. This is an ongoing subject in the next class further. Okay.
Good.
So let's sit up right now. Actually, let's stand up for a moment. Let's practice a few rounds of full yogic breath. I'll do it in sitting position here. So let's rub our palms together. Let's inhale. As we breathe out, bring the spine down, gently stretching it, breathing out completely. Inhale up. Exhale down. Next time you inhale, breathe diaphragmatically. Fill the lungs completely with oxygen, prana, all the way to the fingertips. And as we expel the air, let's breathe out any tiredness, fatigue. Now, please do 5 rounds at your own pace. One last round. And let's sit upright and do a few rounds, 3 rounds of double breathing, tensing the body, and breathing out and relaxing. Keeping the spine away from the back of the chair, let us now chant. Take a moment to mentally scan the body for any tensions. Make adjustments in your asana, your sitting position, so that your shoulders are relaxed, palms and hands, fingers are relaxed. Spine is straight but self-supported from within. Feel the relaxation in the spine. Finally, bring your awareness to the jaw, eyes, making sure they are relaxed. The face, top of the head, side of head, forehead. Keep the gaze uplifted behind closed eyelids. And finally, for today's practice, we will focus also on relaxing the nose, which is through which we feel the air. And let us now tune into the natural flow of the breath. You will find it coming at its own pace in the nose and after a while leaving the body through the nostrils. Simply let's observe this flow. Let's observe this flow now higher and higher up in the nose. Let us now gently apply the mantra of Hong Saw with each breath. Now gently keep the mantra aside, bringing our awareness and relaxed focus entirely on the forehead and especially the point between the two eyebrows. Let us sit in silence for 5 to 7 minutes, enjoying stillness at that point or the experience of an inner light, joy, energy, whatever it be. Let us try to absorb ourselves. Keep your gaze uplifted. Feel that you are moving closer to oneness with that inner experience at the spiritual eye. Let's do this for 5 minutes in silence. share with everyone the blessings we have received, inwardly thanking the Masters for their presence in our lives, and now serving as instruments. Let us share these blessings with one another, with everyone. Let's rub our hands together. Om. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.